I told the entire world about this 15, 16 years ago. What we were exposing was that they didn't want Christians evangelizing Muslims or handing out tracts or anything, right? But they couldn't just make a rule saying Christians aren't allowed to distribute materials. So they just made a rule and they said no one's allowed to hand out materials, but then they only enforced it on Christians.
All right, David Wood with my friends Paul and Antonio here. We're not actually going to go into the festival right now because we know automatically if they're going to lock us up no matter what we do. They'll lie about us. It's just the way of life here in Dearborn if you're a Christian. So we brought a case of copies of the Gospel of John in English and Arabic. We're going to try standing outside of the festival and handing some of them out. I suspect they're going to stop us even then, but we'll see. We hope that there's no problems. Look at this. They weren't here 3 minutes. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yes, sir.
I'm going to have you turn off the camera.
Okay.
Okay, and you're going to have to walk with me, okay?
Okay.
So I hand me the camera.
So,
I appreciate it. I'll turn it off. I'll turn it off. Okay, you're going to have to come on.
all right. As you just saw, two of my friends walked over to the Arab Festival, outside of the Arab Festival, and tried to distribute copies of the Gospel of John in English and Arabic, and they were stopped immediately outside the festival. You didn't see what happened afterwards, but they took us to the security booth, they photographed us, they took our IDs, got the information, took our camera, his cell phone for a little while. They let us go and just explain the rules to us. But what the rule is, it seems, is not that you can't distribute copies of the Gospel of John inside the festival. It also applies outside the festival. They told us we would have to go at least 5 blocks away if we wanted to distribute anything. So this is getting very interesting, Dearborn. Let's look at some of the places where you are not free to hand out information on a public sidewalk here in Dearborn.
I'm Mael, and I'm on the corner of Kingsley and Warren, and I just want to say that I will be arrested in Dearborn, USA, on the corner of Kingsley and Warren if I hand this out.
How you doing? My name is Antonio Santana. I'm on the corner of Warren and Embanon, or something like that. I'm a former Muslim, and I am not free to give a gospel of Jesus Christ here in Dearborn.
Hey, I'm Paul. I'm here on the corner of Warren and Frida in Dearborn, Michigan, United States. And if I were to take this Gospel of Jesus Christ by St. John, and hand it out to anyone on the street, I will be put in jail again.
Well, now I'm about 1 trillion miles away from the Arab Festival on the corner of Warren and Wyoming. And if I walk a little bit past this intersection, I will finally have the freedom here on a public street in the United States of America to hand out a copy of the gospel. That's where I have to go. So I just hope that Americans will start paying attention to what's going on here in Dearborn. Name me any city in the United States where I could not stand on a public street outside the festival where I could not hand out information about my beliefs. You won't find one. So I hope you pay attention to what's going on in America, because something's not right here. Well, the 2011 Arab International Festival in Dearborn is coming to an end. I've been here all 3 days, and for the most part, things have gone very well. You always have hot-headed spotted people doing things, but for the most part, it's been much better than the past 2 years, and I would attribute most of that to maybe some of the lawsuits that have happened that have made people step in and say, hey, we have to protect people's rights, and also the Wayne County Police, who are doing the police work here, have done a much better job than Dearborn Police. They've been protecting people's rights instead of trampling on them. But there is one concern I've had that's actually outside the festival, having again to do with Dearborn Police Department. I talked to Pastor George Saig and a team of his that tried to distribute materials outside the large mosque in Dearborn, and they were stopped and were not permitted on public property to distribute materials to Muslims. And I had interviews with several of the people who were on his team.
Yes, this last Friday, June 17, we were trying to reach out to the Muslims here in this Islamic center. We want to come and be in the sidewalk to give Bible messages, gospel material to the Muslims. And as we are just about arriving, we arrived to this parking lot next door from the mosque. We parked our cars here, 2 cars, and they asked us, some people from the property here, they asked us to leave. And we moved our cars just down the street. We came back. We want to be in the sidewalk.
You tried to go to a mosque yesterday?
Yes, we did.
And what were you doing at the mosque? Yelling at people, screaming at people, holding up signs saying you're all burning in hell, something like that?
No, actually, we just arrived there and we had started to pull out our materials that we were going to pass out, gospel materials. We were there to share the love of Christ, and we were told that we had to move across the street.
On Friday, we went to the mosque, and we went way ahead of time to just try to set up somewhere where we wouldn't be in anybody's way, and it'd be legal and everything. And
we have all the right, absolutely all the right, to be right in front of their gate, outside, right in front of their gate. We have absolutely all the right, but we chose to be a little bit far. But even that, they did not want us to do.
So I was at least about 200 to 300 feet away from the mosque.
Police officers came and they say that we cannot be here. We have, first they ask us to go across the street in this area here.
And so then you're told to move across the street. You moved across the street. And after that, they wouldn't even let you move across the street? I mean, they wouldn't let you stay across the street to hand out materials?
Exactly. Right after we move our materials across the street, when the police arrived, we were already moving our materials, and then they told us that to get our stuff and leave.
After the phone call, he said, now I can order you guys, if you don't have a permit, you must leave. You cannot be here or cross the street. He wants us to leave completely from the area.
And we couldn't be on the easement with the grass. We couldn't be anywhere. We didn't do anything. And, we kept saying, why can't we stand here? We're on the public grass part.
We went there and we stood there and we just tried to distribute our material, and the police came. He forced us to leave, which is, I think it's unlawful, it's unconstitutional.
And he said, well, and then he called somebody, and then he came back and said it was that we needed a permit to do that.
So you weren't even on any private property, and you were not allowed to distribute materials on public property.
That's right. Yeah, we were across the street from the Christian church, and we had not yet even started passing out materials.
So did did you need a permit or something like that?
Yes, they said that we need a permit, and there were like 2 cars that drove by, and they asked for the materials, and they were giving materials, but they even rolled down their windows, and they asked for the materials. They wanted it.
So you're on public property, and people are asking for the materials, and Dearborn police come up to you and tell you you cannot do this without a permit.
That's right. And then I told them that the Constitution of the United States grants us freedom of speech, press, and religion. And I told them that I feel that you're violating my rights. And they still didn't care, and they told us to leave.
But why? We have to stop doing it around the mosque. There is certain rules affecting just the mosque only, and I just want to know.
They effectively closed us down.
We are here to fight for our legal. We are American citizens. This is our country. We are stand firm to get it right way.
This is a violation of my freedom of speech and my team, that we have all the right. This is the United States of America. I born and grew up in Sudan. I'm expecting these things to happen in my country there, but praise God for the United States. I have absolutely all the right to be here. I don't need a permit to practice my freedom of speech, to share the gospel.
And is it part of your religion, your religious beliefs, to share your beliefs with other people?
Yes, we are told to go to all nations and proclaim the gospel, and that's what we were doing, sharing the love of Christ.
And Dearborn police actively stopped you from doing that?
Yes, they did. Yes.
And what I find ironic about all of this is they were told they had to have a permit to share their beliefs or share their speech in that area, but when someone like Terry Jones was actually asked for a permit, applied for a permit, he was thrown in jail. So you can't speak there without a permit, but there's no way we're giving you a permit. Welcome to Dearborn.
Dearborn Police Department is really a big issue. We really cannot be silent anymore. I want you to ask, if you are watching this video, I want you to ask yourself, why the police department, the Dearborn Police Department, why the Dearborn Police Department protecting this Islamic center? Why they are not allowing people to approach this mosque? What about this mosque making the police officers so curious and so afraid or so concerned about anyone to come and offend them? I pray that as a citizen, as a good citizen of this country, as a Christian, do your job, do a research, write to your congresspeople, do something about it. Please don't be silent, because your kids and your grandkids gonna pay the price if we did not stand up and fight for our freedom. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, Nabil Qureshi with Act 17 Apologetics. I apologize for the poor quality of this video. The city of Dearborn still has our cameras, and so I'm left with nothing more than my webcam with which to make this important response to the mayor. Now, you may have noticed that over the past few weeks, I've been relatively quiet about the Dearborn issue. And one main reason for this is because the City of Dearborn Police Department had told us that they'd give us more details about our arrest within 5 to 10 days after we were released. Well, about 3 weeks later, I still hadn't heard anything. And I told many of my friends that I still had faith in the system. I figured that perhaps the delay was because they had reviewed our film, they had reviewed the footage, and noticed that we didn't do anything wrong, and they were considering dropping charges. Well, recently, we heard from the Dearborn mayor. Well, let me clarify. On the very last afternoon, the very last business day before our arraignment, the Dearborn mayor released a statement. He didn't send it to us, but let's impute that courtesy to him. Now, if we actually look at his response, it is so fraught with falsehood that I can hardly believe that he wasn't intentionally lying. Let's take a look, shall we? The mayor of Dearborn, John O'Reilly, said this in his letter. They arrive in Dearborn with the intent to disrupt a local cultural festival and misrepresent facts in order to further their mission of raising funds through emotional response. This statement is reflected in an interview by an ABC affiliate.
These people want to disrupt events, and they want to misrepresent. They want to stir emotions against Muslims, and that's their primary mission.
Oh, really, Mayor O'Reilly? Well, if this is so, then name us the other events that we have disturbed. Or how about just one of those events? The fact is, Mayor, that we've gone into dozens of places with our cameras, had dozens of dialogues with Muslims, and never once have we caused a disturbance. We went to the Islamic Society of North America's National Convention in 2009, no problems there. We even recorded live videos and posted them on the internet, no issue. We went back this year in Chicago and had no problems. We've recorded videos in Washington, in London, in Ottawa, in Virginia, in California. And we've been to Muslim events or dialogues in Chicago, in Indianapolis, in Charlotte, in New York, and so forth, and we've never had problems anywhere. Then we go into your city once, and we get physically and verbally assaulted by security guards in a clear breach of United States law, and instead of condemning that, you condemn us. Is it really our activity that is problematic, or your city? In the same television interview, Mayor O'Reilly had this to say about the circumstances of our arrest.
The crowd gets bigger and bigger, and that's what the police said. You've got to break it up. They refused to, and they refused to follow the police orders.
Oh, really, Mayor O'Reilly? Well, how about you show everyone that segment of the footage where we refused to leave when the police asked us to? Fact of the matter is, no such thing happened. Yes, the police did come up to us and tell us that a storm was coming through and that we'd have to evacuate in 15 minutes. I said okay. My friend David said okay. And the police said, you're good. Seems like your version of events didn't actually happen. How about you show everyone the footage so they can see for themselves? In his letter referring to other Christians legally being allowed to preach at the festival, Mayor O'Reilly says, in all materials released by Act 17 Apologetics, they have failed to mention this manner of preaching. Oh, really, Mayor O'Reilly? Well, what about this article on our blog, posted June 23rd, 2010, titled Responses to Common Questions, where the first issue we mention is the very issue you say we failed to mention? Or how about on this radio show, Evidence for Faith, recorded June 27th?
Were there did you notice any other Christian ministries there at the fest, maybe in booths or?
Yes, there were Christian ministries in booths. Josh McDowell was there in the booth, and he seems to be of the mindset that...
So, Mayor, you've accused us of not addressing issues which we addressed in writing and in live shows. Either you're doing poor research or you're lying. Either way, you're failing in your duty as a mayor to uphold the truth. Mayor O'Reilly said in his letter, Act 17 did not mention the free speech zone, even though they were within 30 feet of the space when they pretended to be arrested. Yes, I said pretended to be arrested. In a video they have posted on their website, they're standing near the Ferris wheel when some police officers approached them on Saturday, June 19th. They lead you to believe that they were arrested shortly thereafter for passing out Christian flyers. Oh, really? Mayor, you've had our footage for 3 weeks. You really should be doing a better job of collecting the facts. The day David was standing by the Ferris wheel was not Saturday, June 19th. It was Sunday, June 20th. More importantly, you said we led others to believe we were arrested. Well, where exactly did we do this? Here's what David said in his video. At this point, my camera was confiscated and we were taken into custody. David also said,
tried to distribute copies of the Gospel of John in English and Arabic, and they were stopped immediately outside the festival.
Where's that bit about us pretending to have been arrested, Mayor? As if it weren't perfectly clear what David's already saying, he clarifies it one more time.
They let us go and just explain the rules to us.
So we say they let us go, and you say we're pretending to have been arrested. Mayor, all we said is that we were taken into custody, that we were stopped, and then let go. How is that significantly different from what you said, that they were temporarily detained? Fact of the matter is, no member of Act 17 Apologetics has ever claimed to be arrested for passing out literature. The mayor's letter also says Act 17 was aggressively engaging passersby in confrontational debate when they were arrested. Oh, really? I maintain, as I always have, that we didn't engage anyone until they first engaged us. Disagree with us? How about you post some of that footage? Go ahead, we give you permission. Post the footage of us engaging others in aggressive debate. You can't find it. Mayor O'Reilly also said, Act 17 has been at the Arab Festival in past years and is well aware of the written policy with regard to crowd control. Oh, really? Mayor, we checked the website for the festival, and there was no such written policy. I talked to Chief Haddad personally on the phone, asking him if there were any rules or policies regarding being at the festival, and he mentioned none. How exactly were we supposed to see this written policy? And in fact, if a policeman had come up to us and said, this is the policy regarding crowd control, we would have listened. We would have stopped right away. There was no peep, nothing that indicated anything of that nature. The mayor's letter directs us to 2 court cases. Heffron versus the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is one of them, and he indicates that we did something wrong. Well, did you read these cases, Mayor? Let me quote a section of the first for you. As Rule 6.05 is construed and applied by the Society, all persons, groups, or firms desiring to sell, exhibit, or distribute materials during the fair must do so only from fixed locations. However, the rule does not prevent organizational representatives from walking about the fairgrounds and communicating the organization's view to fair patrons in face-to-face discussions. It also says its members may mingle with the crowd and orally propagate their views. Sounds exactly like what we were not allowed to do at your festival. The second case goes on to say, The court reiterates that plaintiff and his fellow missionaries will be able to mingle throughout the festival and talk to people. Additionally, while circulating freely, they will be able to wear pins containing a message. The sole issue of contention is leafleting. Wow. Looks like the things we were arrested for are the very things that we were allowed to do expressly according to these two cases. So I'm at Norfolk Airport right now. Sorry I'm recording like this. Unfortunately, I had so little time to make the video between when I actually got the response and the arraignment that I have to record it while at the terminal on the way to the arraignment. Continuing on. The Dearborn mayor referred to a letter by the Dearborn Area Ministerial Association, and he said they released their statement only after trying to contact Acts 17 apologetics to engage them in a discussion of how to achieve the goal of converting others to Christ. They were unsuccessful in getting a response from Acts 17. Oh, really, Mayor O'Reilly? They were unsuccessful in getting a response from us? Well, how about this email dated November 4th, which was a response from me to them the very first day they contacted us. David also responded on that very day. Or how about this email, which was an attempt to meet their every single request. Mayor, if you spent less time accusing the innocent and more time doing background research, perhaps you'd seem less biased. Finally, I wish to say something to the viewers. Note what Mayor O'Reilly has to do in order to make us look bad. He has to talk about our intentions, as he does multiple times in this letter. He can't actually point out anything we did that was illegal. Fact is, we didn't do anything illegal. And you can just make guesses about our intentions, but you can never really know what anyone's intentions are, and considering how horribly flawed his information was, we can't expect his conclusions about our intentions to be any better. On the other hand, what do we have? Hard evidence. We repeatedly said exactly what has been done illegally by the city of Dearborn and by the mayor. We were illegally stopped from speaking to the public. Our First Amendment rights were curtailed. The mayor has lied about us in public. Last year, we were physically and verbally assaulted by security guards. These are all things that we have hard evidence of. Well, the mayor has our hard evidence. Fact is, the public will judge for themselves when our footage is published exactly who is speaking the truth. Oh, regarding that, Mayor, we just got word from the Dearborn Police Department about the details of our arrest. Turns out a warrant for our footage to be copied was granted on June 21st, the next business day after our footage was taken. Well, it's been 20 days since then, Mayor. Where is our footage? Couldn't you have gotten it back to us by now? We want to post this footage for the world to see, so that they'll be able to judge for themselves who is right or who is wrong. Mayor, do you want to continue to be part of a campaign of deception and cover-up, or do you want to be part of spreading the truth? It's your move, Mayor. Hello, everyone. Nabil Qureshi and David Wood with Acts 17 Apologetics, along with our friends Paul and Nagin. You may recall that last month we were arrested while in Dearborn at the Arab Festival. Turns out that when we were walking around trying to just represent Christianity and answer people's questions, people accused us of breaching the peace. There's a lot that goes along with that story. We can't cover all the details now, but we do want to update you on what happened. Today was our arraignment. We were at the court in order to speak to our lawyer as well as the court system about where the case is going, also to enter our pleas, guilty, not guilty, etc. David, would you like to give details about what happened?
Sure. Well, we entered our plea, of course, of not guilty, since we didn't break any law, and we didn't even break anything close to a law, didn't even break the festival rules. So we're still puzzled. We're still puzzled to a great extent about what exactly we did, and that's why our lawyer filed what's called a motion for a bill of particulars. We still want to know exactly what it is that we supposedly did. Now, there are lots of things included in the police report. We finally got our police report just this past Friday. So all of these weeks that have transpired, they still haven't told us exactly what we did. And when we get the police report, we find, well, temperatures were running high because there was a storm on the way and it was humid and this aggravated the crowd. Well, are we responsible for the weather now? What exactly did we do that breached the peace? And so, in other words, people are telling us you breached the peace. Great. What did we do? What exactly did we do? And the question becomes even more puzzling when we think about Paul and Nagin. At least with Nabil, you can say, he was talking to people, and maybe in Dearborn we're going to declare that that's violating, that's breaching the peace if you're having a conversation and answering people's questions. But what exactly do you do with Paul and Negin? And I'll just go ahead and ask, since we're familiar now with the police reports, Negin, after going through this police report, the police say they came up to you to take away your camera and force you to stop recording and take you with them. Now, according to the police report, according to what they've said, what exactly were you accused of doing that would justify them coming up, seizing your camera, and forcing you to stop recording?
Honestly, David, I don't know, and I don't think that the police department knows either, given that the police reports were extremely vague. They said that we were disturbing the peace. Well, how exactly were we disturbing the peace? Those descriptions weren't given in the police report. All that I know is that I was standing there 100 feet away from these guys, videotaping, and 2 policemen approached me and told me to put my video down. I wasn't aware that videotaping in America had become illegal.
And just so everyone knows, it's not illegal. You can stand. And interestingly, last year, we asked if we could stand. We asked if we're allowed to record. And, of course, we were. We're allowed to record. It's a public sidewalk. You can record all you want, even at a festival. If you want to say, but there's a festival going on, you're still allowed to record. There is no law. There is no rule against recording. So what possible basis could they have for coming and arresting Negin? We don't know. We don't have a clue. Here we are, almost a month after we're put in jail, and we don't know why exactly Negin was put in jail. And what do we do with our friend Paul? At least with Negin, you can say, when we told her to hand over her camera, she didn't want to do it. So if you want to stretch the law to unimaginable lengths and toss in all kinds of nonsense, what do you do with Paul? So Paul, according to the police report, what exactly are you accused of doing that would justify putting you in handcuffs and taking you to jail?
Absolutely nothing. I was standing there holding the camera, videotaping, just like Negin was. I was a little bit closer in, doing nothing but holding a camera recording. And I wasn't aware that videotaping was illegal in America either.
So we have an idea of what Nabil and I are being accused of, talking. We are actually being accused of more than that. We were yelling at people and stuff. Well, this is what they're saying about Nabil. He was yelling. The video footage, the video recordings that we were doing at the time show that this is absolute nonsense. So how do the police get around us showing the world what the video footage clearly shows? Well, they still haven't given us the video footage. Interestingly, we learned from the police report that after the police illegally seized our video cameras on the 18th, on the 21st, the first business day after our arrests, they got a warrant to make a copy of all of our footage. So they have copies of all of our footage. They can't say we're holding the cameras because we want to see the footage. They have copies of it already. And they're still refusing to hand over our cameras. And here we've already gone to court. We've already pled not guilty. We have a right to prepare our defense. And they still haven't had. They promised to do it soon. But, I mean, this is just absurd. This would not be acceptable in any city, in any state in the United States of America.
So just to recap, we were at a festival. We did absolutely nothing wrong, nothing contrary to the law, nothing even contrary to festival rules, and yet false accusations were levied against us. When we asked for the details of those accusations, we haven't received word. And it looks like we might not receive word because a motion was leveled by our attorney in court today to receive those details, and the judge seemed hesitant to allow that to happen. So no details on what we did wrong. All the evidence to show that we did nothing wrong has been kept from us, even though there's no need to keep it from us any longer. This is the United States of America. This is a country where our right to free speech is protected and has been protected repeatedly by the Constitution, by the Bill of Rights, by Supreme Court rulings, common law. Every way you look at it, we should have the ability to walk through a festival and share our beliefs with others. Mind you, we didn't even do that. We waited for people to come up to us and ask us about our beliefs. But it looks like the rules are changing here in Dearborn slowly. Let's pray, all of us together, that those rules would not change as quickly as some might want them to. Nabil Qureshi, David Wood, Act 17 Apologetics, along with Paul and Negin.